Ladies and gentlemen, now in today's video, we're going to be breaking down all of the tips, tricks, the best champions, and essential information to beat Terrax on Uncollected. And if this video does help you out today, if you could smash that like button, that'd be greatly appreciated. But we have a lot to discuss today, a lot of different takedowns to show. I've managed to get quite a few one-shots on Terrax now, and the more I play around with this fight, and the more I play around with this champion, the more counters I realize there actually are. However, when I first fought this dude, I got absolutely wrecked on my second try and Uncollected, and it's very punishing if you bring the wrong champion or you kind of get backed into a corner, because his rock field damage is just so ridiculous. So if this guy does bend you over the barrel a few times, like, don't feel too bad about it. I would say that Terrax is much more difficult than your average Uncollected boss, so you know, just keep that in mind and be prepared to die a few times to some very fun and interactive damage. Now, to start breaking down some of the core abilities and stuff you need to know about Terrax. So the first thing is he's a double immunity to shock and bleed, so bleed champions are very ineffective versus Terrax. He is also immune to power drain, power steal, power burn, power lock, and innovate effects from any champion with a metal attack. So to give you a bit of a visual representation, it's most of the tech class and also Dr. Doom as well. So there are a lot of champions that usually would be very good for their power control that don't work in this fight for power control, because he is immune to power control from metal champions. So just something to keep in mind. Now, the main problem when it comes to fighting Terrax is his rock field, and he activates this at the start of every single fight via his awakened ability, and also whenever he uses a special attack. And you'll see when he uses a special, his power won't immediately drain, it's going to drain slowly over time, and rock field ends when he reaches 0 power. But if you attack into him, if he gains more power from additional sources, then this is going to increase the duration of rock field. Now, while rock field is active, he gains a massive attack rating bonus, but also for every second it's active, nearby opponents take up to 1,800 energy damage every half a second for every second that the rock field has been active. So this damage, it starts off fairly low, but after about 4 or 5 seconds ramps up very quickly. So you need to be incredibly careful of this, and if you don't have a way to mitigate this damage via a Gladiator Hulk or Namor, then you need to back away and wait for his power to drain to 0 after a few seconds, or this mechanic is going to kill you very quickly. So it's just something to be mainly aware of there, because rock field is kind of the big threat when it comes to dealing with Terrax. Also, while rock field is active, if you're close, he's going to spam armor breaks on you, so it's bad news for Ghost there. And also he fights more aggressively as well, which is actually really handy, because he doesn't throw his special attacks while he has rock field. He's going to drain all the way to 0 power, so for certain champions it makes backdrafting intercepting really reliable, which is super nice. And then the final thing you need to be aware of is anytime he throws a special attack, he's going to gain indestructible charges, and while he has these indestructible charges, if you attack into him, he gains a lot more power than he usually would. So this makes it very annoying to actually get his power down if you start hitting into him, and space does become a bit of a problem for certain champions in the Terrax matchup. On top of those abilities, we have the uncollected nodes as well. So whenever he gains one of his charges, he gains 2, so it pretty much doubles the rate that he's going to ramp up his indestructible. So lots of indestructible very quickly. Also powerful from afar. Whenever you're not in proximity from him, he gains a very small power gain. So if you're trying to bait out something like a special 2, sometimes this will take him to a special 3 and you'll get absolutely ruined there, or it will just kind of prolong the time that he has rock field active. It's a bit annoying there. Also long distance relationship, so if you're near him, you're going to get a weakness debuff every 3 seconds. So that's just really annoying there. He also has 40% more energy damage. The rock field is energy damage, so even more damage from that, and also a 20% limber node as well, so you can only stun him like 3-4 times before it's just way too quick and very unreliable. Now, before we get into some Terrax gameplay and takedowns, I wanted to have a quick chat about some of the best counters and characters I've seen work really well, and we are going to showcase a lot of these champions in action. So a champion that you want to bring against Terrax to be really good ideally needs one of three things. So the first one is strong damage. If you've got a very powerful damage champion, you just nuke through this fight and get a really decent chunk off. So strong damage can work if you don't necessarily have like a direct counter. The next thing is a strong power drain or power control mechanics, but a champion without the metal tag. So no Doctor Doom there, and no majority of the tech class as well. Or finally, you need a fun and interactive damage counter, such as Namor or Gladiator Hulk. Now, this list isn't necessarily in any order in particular, but I've put some of my favorite counters toward the top. Now, Namor, if you've even got like a 4-star fully maxed out version of Namor and have a max sig as well, he's so much fun, because as long as you're playing aggressively, you can reflect all the damage, and because Terrax is going to be very aggressive while he has that aura going on, then you can just backdraft intercept, and it's just very, very satisfying with Namor. So Namor works an absolute treat for this fight. Magic special 2 spam, Dr. Voodoo special 2 spam just completely denies the power gain there and takes away the thing that makes the fight like really annoying. So both of those work incredibly well. Captain Marvel MCU, if you get ramped up, you know, it's like one parry straight into binary ignition, you've got the 12-second indestructible, and then you can get a ton of damage and just nuke this fight down. If you got like a maxed out 5-star or 6-star rank to version of Captain Marvel, I've just seen a lot of very easy solos and takedowns, man. So she's working very well for a lot of people there. Havoc as well, if you can get to 1 special 3, it's just really easy to build up the charges on Havoc, because if you stay near him toward the start of the rock field, then you take in very low energy damage and building up those charges there. And just 1 special 3, if you've got like a 5-star rank for Havoc or above, should take this man down. So a very decent counter. Also found Sunspot in my testing to work very, very well. He works especially well because of the increased stun on the Incinerate. So as soon as you get an Incinerate active, as long as you can keep that up, then you get the extended stun with Sunspot. It just makes it easier to kind of parry and control him. Domino full Trinity, you've got the extended stun there. Just spam heavy. He's not Incinerate immune, so you can just nuke him down. Hyperion, spam special 1 as well. I've heard is working quite well. Void works really decently for this fight. You can kind of shut down the additional sources of power gain and have a little bit of reversal if you get deep enough. But I managed to pull off a one-shot with Void, which I'll showcase in this video. Long shot works really decently, because as soon as he triggers a special attack and gets all those indestructible buffs, then as long as you got a Fate Seal on, it's just going to convert those into massive Incinerate damage. So a really solid shout there. Corvus Glaive for the burst damage works absolutely fantastically, and as long as you have more than 1 glaive charge, you're immune to dying, I think, from his proximity based aura. So yeah, Corvus, fantastic option if you want to take a massive chunk out, and if you've got him high enough, you know, 1-shot potential as well. Also Gladiator Hulk. Gladiator Hulk's Face Me triggers off the aura, so it mitigates a lot of the damage and also gives you a damage booster as well. So if you've got a 5-star rank 4 or 5, you might be able to get a solo there. I managed to take a pretty decent chunk off with my 4-star rank 5, and it was quite fun to play as well, man. So Gladiator Hulk ain't the best, but he can work. Quake works to a certain extent. I think if you get a bit unlucky and he like backs off, then he's going to get the power gain and might go to a special 1. So Quake, there can be some scenarios where you just die and get KO'd. However, Quake, from what I've seen, you know, she can work. She can take a chunk off this fight if needed. Human Torch pre-fight ability. I was so close to getting a solo with the Human Torch pre-fight. There's nothing like super special about Human Torch, but it's just the big damage, man, that makes that fight quite enjoyable there. Black Widow Clairvoyant, if you go into power drain stance, you kind of lock this man down a little bit as well, so it works decently from what I've seen. Morningstar, you can burst through all of the indestructible charges with a special 2. Stealth Suit Spider-Man, he has a lot of damage that you can get into quite quickly with this lad. So I had a nice like duo takedown with Sunspot where I made a bit of a mistake and then just finishing off with Stealth Suit Spider-Man. Also Venom the Duck, I imagine if you ramp him up it's going to work really nicely. A Mega Red, I've seen some solos with a Mega Red so far, apparently very good for long distance relationship, and if you can find good intervals to throw the heavy attacks, you got all your damage there. Also if you ramp up Aegon on a few fights, man, I imagine he would work decently as well. I think ramped up Cull Obsidian is one that could work very very, very nicely. If you have like a 5-star rank 4 or above, I think, you know, you could get some nice burst damage there. Also, Mojo, I imagine just for the damage output, if you've ramped him up in previous fights, and the health pool that Mojo has is going to work fairly decently there, I would assume. Also, Spider-Gwen, if you're playing fairly aggressively, you can shut him down with the special one, Innovate. Hulk, especially if you have the Void or Indestructible synergies, then you can last a little bit longer there. And finally, I probably have missed out a handful of champions. I tend to do that, man. There are so many characters in the game, it's very hard to keep track of all the best counters on day one. But if we've missed out any champion that you've used very successfully, let me know in the comments section below. But from what I can see, any strong damage output champion at 5-star rank 4 should have the ability to make a decent dent in Terrax. Alright, so now we've covered a list of the best counters. Let's show some of these champions in action and what makes them, you know, pretty good for dealing with Terrax. Again, most of these champions aren't perfect counters, but I want to show a variety of options that you can use to take this character down. Now, starting off, we have Void, who has the ability to petrify and thus reverse power gain and kind of mitigate it as well in many forms. It's still kind of far from the perfect counter here, but it does work. And one thing I really like about Void in this matchup and scenario is his special one kind of pushes Terrax back a fair bit, because you can see in the rock field there we're taking crazy damage. It was like 1,200, really chipping us down. 1,500 tick from that final hit there. So this wasn't really the most ideal start. We kind of ate a lot more damage than we necessarily wanted to, but you know, we've got all of our debuffs. They're about to merge now. So this fight and my damage output is about to go up. It's going to become a little bit easier now. So we dodged the special 2. The special 2 isn't too tricky if you're used to dodging complicated specials, because all you need to do is just dash backwards and then wait for that hand to go down. It's a little bit slow, a little bit delayed there. Here we're trying to get a bit of distance, just wait for the rock field to expire. As you can see, we got chipped down there, man. It's so easy just to very quickly lose massive chunks of health to Terrax. So that's something you're constantly, you know, battling with in this encounter. We spent a little bit of time taking it a bit slower there, just allowing, you know, our debuffs to deal a little bit of damage. But now we're back in for another special one. We've got all of our debuffs active there. He uses his special one. I need to be a little bit careful, but as soon as he activates it, the damage isn't like super insane, so we go in for a little bit, just enough for another special one to push him back and KO. So a nice little one-shot solo with Void there. Now next up, I just wanted to showcase Hulk Ragnarok, or Gladiator Hulk versus Terrax here, because you can see Face Me is just constantly proccing, so you're getting like a massive heal from that, and the majority of damage dealt is being healed back. However, you know, it still does become a lot over a longer period of time as well. But if you do have, again, a 6-star, a 5-star version of Hulk Ragnarok, like, this might be a really good option just to bring into Terrax, as he is able to get like a really solid dent down very reliably every single time. So I really enjoyed playing Hulk Ragnarok, and again, while he has this rock field active, he is more aggressive, so it's kind of like having the oscillate node on. He's almost always going to charge at you, so it just makes intercepting him like very easy if you're doing like the backdraft intercept. So medium, triple like combo, dash back, straight back in. But just keep an eye on the rock field and be aware of when it is coming to an end as well. But I like that there's the really handy icon of having like all of the power bars grayed out while rock field is active. It just makes it, you know, so you don't have to worry about having a special attack as long as you see gray on the power bar. The problem with using a bit of a lower rank Gladiator Hulk here is that that weakness from long distance relationship is starting to kick in a little bit, and there's just not really a good opportunity in the Terrax matchup to really back up and let it fall off, just because if you do that, he's going to gain power, and then he's going to gain his rock field and play more aggressively, and then just come at you, and you just don't really have a good chance. So it's a little bit of a weird one, but here we just decide, you know, screw it, we'll go back in. We've taken off a really nice chunk with a 4-star champion there. A little bit of a misplay toward the end, so we could have got like 10-15% more, but overall he did well for a maxed out 4-star version. It certainly wasn't too bad. And then I brought in my 5-star rank for Dr. Voodoo to clean this one up. Voodoo is basically just get to the special 2 and win the game. That's the whole concept of playing with Voodoo here. So again, you do need to play around the rock field and kind of dash back and stay out of the way of it for a little bit. You can see he's gone straight to special 2 here. We're going for a 5 combo, far off our special 2 while the damage is still quite low. We attack in here. I should have backed off, man, because we were taking a bit too much damage from that. But here we're just backing off until the power drains. Just waiting for that power to go down a little bit. We hit in here just because he was almost down. Maybe I should have backed off a little bit more until I was forced against the wall, because still in that initial setup we still took, like, you know, what was it, 40-50% of Voodoo's maximum health. But now we get him into the corner, and Terrax is moderately reliable to like 4 combo backdraft, and if you intercept after the special 2 on Voodoo and Magic, then you can lock this man down and just have a really good time. Just becomes a very straightforward fight to deal with, and yeah, like any power control matchup where you just dominate them. So yeah, Voodoo is just so good. Magic is so good for Terrax. Magic, I would say, is maybe a little bit better for this fight, but in the end, Dr. Voodoo, he can work, he can get the job done. So just a very satisfying takedown. A little bit toward the end, you can fire off your special 1 to poison this man, because again, he is immune to bleed, but he isn't immune to poison, so keep that in mind. However, one mistake you don't want to make is go for the poison too early and sacrifice the power control, because again, getting rid of that rock field is your #1 priority. Now, next up, we have probably my favorite counter to Terrax. Namor works so well for the Terrax matchup. It's ridiculous. As long as you're playing aggressively, you're just reflecting all of that damage via Namor's awakened ability. And again, you do need that awakened ability, and you also need it ideally fully maxed out to make this work really well. But again, while he has Rockfield, he's playing very aggressively, so he's just playing into like your 4 combo backdrafts, and it's just very fun. So here, I'm trying to line up like the perfect Imperious Rex, so I don't immediately go for the special 3, and also because Terrax is a bleed immune champion as well, it's just much easier to get those stacks of outrage because you're guaranteed to get them on every single medium. So here I messed up the backdraft, man, and took so much block damage because again, he has a massive attack bonus while the rock field is active. We got 27 stacks of outrage. I threw off the special 3 here, but I really did take like 50% of my hit points in totally unnecessary block damage. This was also one of my first tries against Terrax after I ended the live stream, so yeah, a little bit more shoddy in comparison, but still worked an absolute treat. We've got the massive fury for Imperious Rex. We fire off a special 2, mitigates the damage a fair bit, straight into a special 1 there. I was hoping that would be another special 2 actually. We got a little bit lucky that he didn't attack in, so then we just go for one more combo and the fight is over. So Namor is once again a really good champion, but it's great to see even more uses for Namor. Next up, I brought in Human Torch and used the pre-fight ability to activate Nova Flame. So here we charge up the temperature on our initial parries, and I thought due to the rock field being energy damage, we might like increase our temperature and start to smolder a lot, but it didn't happen. That interaction didn't happen, unfortunately. It works for Havoc, it doesn't work with Human Torch. So yeah, I was a little bit disappointed by that, but due to the fact that in Nova form, like, Human Torch has so much damage output, this still worked like an absolute treat. So Torch is no special counter to Terrax. He's just got some really solid damage output, as you can see, and he's just absolutely mincing through him. So far we got 43% down, but we're on 11% now. Looking back at this, when the rock field was dealing like way too much damage earlier, I should have just backed up and chilled for a few seconds and then gone back in. But I think like a good part of Terrax is really just trying to get the fight under control, because it's very easy to get backed into the corner and then just absolutely ruined. So sometimes you just got to play a little bit aggressively and make the most of every single fight that you can. But yeah, he's on 37% now. We managed to bang out an intercept there, cheeky little backdraft straight into a 5 combo, special 1, really nice on Human Torch, tosses him back a good amount of distance. Also, I imagine champions with like a decent amount of power gain. Again, we mentioned Hyperion, but maybe more though as well, champions that can get to that special 3 much quicker, so you can toss Terrax back to get more distance in the hands of a skilled player might work out quite nicely. But overall, even though Human Torch was nothing like really special for that matchup, you can see that a strong damage output champion could really make an amazing dent in Terrax. That was almost 90% damage there, so we've just got a little bit to finish up with Thing. So Thing, again, has absolutely nothing special in this matchup. I think maybe the protection might be able to reduce damage a bit, but I'm not too sure if it works for energy damage there. But you can see just nuking in and playing a little bit aggressively toward the start, we can clean up Terrax and just get the job done. Now, next up, I wanted to showcase a Sunspot and Stealth Suit Spider-Man team takedown here, because I tried to go for the Sunspot solo, but I messed up, and I thought, you know, this was good enough. It kind of proves that he has the ability to one-shot this fight if needed. And again, once you get Incinerates, you have a much longer duration on that stun, so that kind of bypasses the Limber Node. And also the playstyle of Sunspot, because it's a little bit slower, and you're just kind of like charging up the heavy attack for the most part, getting those Incinerates back, you're not giving Terrax as much power as you would give other opponents, so it's just really nice here. I got him a bit too close to a special 3, and I was like, screw it, man, I'm just going to go in for a combo, see if I can special 2, but unfortunately I couldn't. Another few hits into the block there, but if we got off that special 2, man, if we had enough power, it probably would have been enough damage to get him down there. So I'm a little bit gutted. It would have been an amazing little kill if we got some good crits on that SP2, but Sunspot 100% has the potential for a Terrax one-shot. And then this try is a little bit stupid, man. I played way too aggressively here and took way too much damage. You can see I'm not backing off on Stealth Suit Spider-Man. I'm just going straight for the jugular, and we're taking ridiculous damage, man. We're taking about 2,500 damage there per second. So I just instantly lost 66%. But Stealthy doesn't care. He's got so much burst damage so quickly as well that Terrax is just getting absolutely slaughtered. So yeah, this one, a little bit of a cheeky takedown. I probably shouldn't have used the special 1 here and backed off for a little bit, but then we got an intercept after that. We KO'd that man. So again, even champions are just good damage output that don't necessarily have a great counter are still going to work against this man. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the Uncollected Terrax guide. Again, he's a lot more annoying than your average Uncollected boss, so don't feel too bad if you're getting battered by this dude. Just keep on practicing. Like my first couple of tries, I just got slaughtered on live stream, but the more I've played this fight, the more confident I've got fighting this champion, and I'm still making mistakes. It's still day 1, so maybe if you want a bit of practice, do Heroic, do Master, get used to this character, get used to the rock feel, get used to the animation. But in the end, he's not too bad to deal with once you're a little bit more comfortable and if you have the right counter, although I can see this is going to be a hard Uncollected for players that have lesser developed rosters. But smash that like button if you did enjoy today's breakdown. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.